Good morning and welcome to my Monday messages. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rebecca. I'm a homeopath, a holistic health coach and natural health advocate. And I just pop in here on a Monday to share a thought, a practice, something that might stimulate all of us into becoming as conscious as we can of the things that work for us in our lives and the things that may be keeping us a little bit stuck. So, welcome. And for those of you joining me live, you are extremely welcome, and you are equally welcome if you're watching me on the replay. And if you do want to know any more about collaborating with me in some way to help you to enhance your emotional health, your physical health, or your spiritual health, or all three, then do click on the link with this video. So this morning, I wanted to talk about our internal search engines, and maybe you're not even aware that you have one, and maybe you are kind of aware but you're not quite sure how it works. I was reminded of this because over the weekend I had to actually find out quite a lot of different bits of information. So I was using various search engines online to try and find that information. And in this case, it was information that I kind of know exists already. So it was deeply frustrating, and I don't know whether you're finding this as well, that at the moment, often, even when you know something exists, and particularly actually in the natural health arena, the way that search engines have been set up, a lot of the more popular ones, they don't show up. The information that would have been presented to you a couple of years ago now does not appear, except maybe way down the list of searches, which is deeply frustrating. But it got me thinking about, I know that information exists, so I can kind of work my way around it, and maybe use, different searches to eventually rediscover it. But what about all the information that I don't know exists, that I would love to find out about, because it's going to help me to get closer to whatever it is that I'm searching for, whatever it is that I'm working on or that I'm wanting to change or add to. And it reminded me of the power of the way that search engines work, in that, Google is only going to show you what it's been programmed to show you for whatever reason. It's not necessarily going to show you the stuff that it has been, that doesn't fall into that program, that algorithm. And that's a little bit the same as or similar to how we work when we are doing a little bit of a scan or a search in our own heads. And what we inadvertently do, subconsciously do, is we set up that algorithm ourselves. It's often been set up a long time ago, actually. But we can actually change that algorithm to give us different information. It kind of falls into the mindfulness camp, if you like, and it does demand a bit of practice. It does, when you first start practicing it, it needs to be a kind of conscious change, if you like. It very quickly becomes a habit, though. So what I'm talking about is, how can I give you an example? When I just had a recent example over the weekend where my son was looking for some information about some retraining that he would like to do. And he's decided that he would like to do this training in a kind of apprentice type way rather than going to a college course, doing a kind of educational qualified course, because he didn't have a very good experience going through school. And so for him, he has attached to the whole field of academia and formal learning, if you like, feelings of, well, all sorts of negative feelings, basically, and he doesn't want to go there. He's completely closed down to it. So anyway, somebody told him about a course reasonably close by, a college course in exactly the field that he's interested in. And he completely dismissed it because he felt that, well, he'd already decided basically that he didn't want to do that type of learning. And it transpired when somebody else looked at the same information that, in fact, there were elements attached to this college course that were right on in line with how he wants to learn, but he just hadn't seen it. He hadn't noticed it, and it was very, very obvious, very, it was in the initial information. Because what had happened was, as soon as he saw this is a college course, it's going to take 4 years, that was it, closed. So even though he read the information, his search engine had already been told to look for information that would support his decision that he didn't want to do this course. So therefore, it kind of spotlit all the reasons that fed into why he doesn't want to do a 4-year college course. And he literally didn't see anything that didn't conform with that pre-formed position. So I hope that's making sense. Do let me know if it is or it isn't. And that's kind of what we do about everything. So when we are perhaps setting up our intentions for this coming year, and often, well, certainly the way that I work is that I would ask myself, well, how was last year? How was my last year? And if I immediately go into, okay, let's look back at 2021. That's a bit of a shit year, really awful, loads of restrictions. I lost this job. I didn't have as much work, couldn't go out, whatever. Then that is you setting up your algorithm for your subconscious to then look for evidence, experiences, all the things that will confirm that belief in you. Oh, because your subconscious wants to please you, it wants to protect you, it wants to give you whatever information you're asking for. So when you're priming it by asking for, I know you're not consciously doing this, but you are priming, or we are priming our subconscious to look for all the things that went wrong for us, all the things that didn't make us feel however we want to feel. And it will show you immediately, you will remember, yeah, there was that time and there was that time and there was that time. And there you go. Your belief is set up that last year, everything about last year was terrible. And that then clouds how you go forward as well, because your subconscious then thinks that's what you want from life. So if we can be more conscious of that initial framing of looking at anything, and ask ourselves, well, hang on a second, do I really want to think that everything was terrible. Do I really? There must have been some good things. Let's concentrate on the positive things, the things that went well, that went right, that were productive, that you learnt from, that surprised you, that helped you to grow, helped you to experience joy or relaxation or calm or anything like that. Then you're asking your internal search engine to give you evidence of those things, those things that you possibly want more of. And it will bring up the memories or the experiences or the situations, examples of all those feelings, because you've asked it to. That's what you've asked it to do. Your search engine is only as good as how it's been programmed, number one, which we are responsible for, nobody else. I'll come on to that. But also what you're telling it to search for. So becoming more conscious of what you're actually asking your search engine to do is an opportunity to show you the things that work for you rather than the things that didn't work for you. And I'm not saying ignore everything that didn't work, because obviously we can learn from those too. But those things can be included in, what lessons did I learn? What changes can I make going forward? Where was I going with this? Yeah, so reprogramming, looking back and pulling out the positive things, the things that you can learn from, the things that you can build on. Because we will build on whatever we're focusing on, because our subconscious really wants to please us and protect us, and it wants to give us what it's being asked to give us. It will delete things. It will, not show you the things that don't fit in with what you've asked it to or what you've programmed it to look for. It will kind of distort things. It will just kind of go, well, you don't need to worry about that. That's really minor. And it will generalize, as we all do. It will just, okay, the details of that don't quite fit in, so let's just kind of go wide and go and just cherry pick and pick out what we know will actually confirm what we already believe and what we already know to be true. So we have, I don't like comparing us to machines. We're not machines. We're not computers. We are far more complex, far more soft and fluid and subtle than any computer. But I'm just making that analogy because I find it a useful one when you think about it. That we often these days we might use these big search engines online like Google and Wikipedia, even all of those things that people take for granted, a lot of people, as being the arbiters of truth, of giving you the facts, of giving you the truth. But number one, they've all been programmed to ignore certain things and give you other things. So it's very selective. And the other thing is that often we don't know how to use search engines very effectively. So it's a skill in itself, actually, to know which words to use, perhaps, and to be quite creative in a way, in thinking laterally as to, okay, what's another way of saying this? What's another way that this might have been programmed in to the internet generally, or filed by somebody somewhere. And that's what we're doing all the time. But our subconscious mind is the filing system. It is the basic algorithm. It's the programming that runs underneath everything. And that's not to say we can't change that programming, because we are in charge. There's no merit in thinking that nothing can be changed. That's just the way things are, because it isn't. Everything can be changed or tweaked or adjusted, or the programming enhanced so that it works better and it gives you more of what you want. So my message today was to practice becoming more conscious of how you might be programming that internal search engine and what's coming up for you when you do that. And could you actually invite the idea of being able to change that programming? And maybe even as soon as you open your eyes in the morning, practicing not switching the mind on and the subconscious brain, but just maybe staying in your physical body and delaying that maybe knee-jerk thing that as soon as we open our eyes, we start making lists. We start going, oh God, today's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. How am I going to get everything done? All of those things. But instead of doing that, so that your subconscious then goes, oh, she wants evidence to support that it's all going to be difficult and challenging, and it will serve that up and show you exactly why, yeah, your day's going to be shit. Instead of doing that, of actually catching yourself and maybe not even trying to change it, but just going into your body and saying good morning to each part of your physical body. I usually start with my toes, give my toes a wriggle. Good morning, toes. Good morning, ankles. Good morning, calves. Good morning, knees. Working up the body. And so you're concentrating on how your physical body is and just saying good morning with a smile, greeting the day, welcoming each part of yourself into the day. When you do that, you're completely changing the programming for your morning, for how you feel first thing. It's those kind of conscious changes. When we go into, God, my day was awful yesterday. Okay, actually, it wasn't all awful. How can I look at this a little bit differently? What was nice? What was positive? What felt good? What did I learn from it? Then immediately you're programming your search engine to give you information to support that, as opposed to focusing all the rubbish things, basically. And then that's what we build on. So do we want to build on the rubbish, on all the crap things that went wrong? Or do we want to build on the positive, feel good situations or growth? Do we want to build on that going forward? And that depends on how you program that search engine. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that you can start being more conscious of that kind of thing. And also just literally when you're using search engines, you're not always served up the truth. And you're certainly not served up the full buffet of information that you should be served up with in order to make a conscious and helpful decision that will suit you. We can only act on the information that we're given, and if we literally don't see or can't see what's in front of us or what may be available around the corner, then we're acting on very limited information. We still have choices, but many of the possibilities either have been removed or just don't fit in with what we want to believe or what we have believed up until now. And therefore we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're keeping ourselves small. We're keeping ourselves perhaps from fully growing and from expanding and opening. We're keeping ourselves tight, closed, conforming to what we know. And sometimes that's very valuable. Sometimes absolutely we need to do that. But in the main, we humans are not computers, and we are meant to open and grow and explore and debate and be given lots of different choices so that we can make an informed choice that suits us. So just minding that internal search engine this week, and perhaps changing the algorithm a little bit and seeing what comes up for you, seeing if you can actually expand your choices and feel however you want to feel in your life. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being with me, and do leave your comments in the thread below this video. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, take care.